This has always been a question in the spiritual path, which is, if the whole point of the path of awakening is to remove the ego, then why has the ego been created? Where has the ego come from? And what we do is we create a Mr. God duality, and we say, God, why did you create the ego? If my whole journey is to find you and bypass my ego, why did you give me the ego in the first place? Now, I don't see it in that way. I see it more from an evolution of species. If you think about all of the species of nature, as mankind has evolved into what we are today, the reason we are what we are today is because of our brains. And because our brains have evolved, we're able to think and process information and do calculations at a far more superior way than certain animals. So the human animal has emerged as the dominant species on the planet because of the size of our brains, because of our ability to think. Thought has led us to what we are today. But because our brains have evolved so much, because our minds are so sophisticated, it has also led to a lot more problems. We don't see animals in the wild having issues with emotional turmoil. We don't see animals going into depression. Animals just get on with what they need to do. You might get the odd case here or there, but in general, we see animals living in harmony because they don't have this very deep, sophisticated machine constantly churning out thoughts at 1,000 per second. Because our minds have developed so much, humanity has gone such further and further down, and this is where the ancient concepts of the yugs has come from, is that in the older days, as humanity was in its earlier stages, we were also in harmony with everything. That was the Satyug. And then as humanity has evolved, Dharam has decreased. Dharam is our connectedness with the universe. That's decreased. Our humanity has decreased. And now in Kaljug, Dharam is as a bull that's only left with one leg standing, all the other legs. So that means it's a very unstable mind. It's a very unstable relationship that we've now created. And because of that, the Guru has had to come and give us the solution. So Haumai Uoopajai isn't like God created man and God said man is going to have an ego, and almost like a very Christianized way of looking at the world, that God created the world in 7 days and one day he created man and he decided man was going to have an ego. So ego is something that's very subtle, that's just slowly evolved over time. And that's why the question has always been asked, where does this ego come from? And time again, Gurbani has also said that you have created this ego. The divine has created this ego. Because not Mr. God, because if divine is nature itself, if divine is the universe itself, then the universe has created the ego. But that doesn't mean that we're stuck with it. The universe has also created the Guru, which is the solution to the ego. Animals don't need a Guru. Animals don't need enlightenment. It is us, because we have our minds. What's the difference between us and an animal otherwise? It is our ability to think. But our ability to think has created our self-identity at a much more deep-rooted way than other animals. Now, you can look at scientific studies that say that animals also have this self-identity. They've done some tests where animals have looked in the mirror and they have a very clear notion of the thing in the mirror is me. I understand that to be me. It isn't another animal. So they have this self-identity, this individuality. So we can't necessarily rule out that animals have some level of self-identity and ego. But ours is so much more sophisticated now that we need this solution to that. So this is where this question is being highlighted. Haumai Uoopajai kith sanjam Ehaa Jaai. And what is the technique by which we can get rid of it? Haumai eho Hukam hai. And Gurbani explains it now. Haumai is Hukam. It is a natural thing that's happened. Paaeh Firaaeh. It has happened because of everything that's happened from the past till now. What is the solution? Kit sanjam e Jaai. How can we get rid of this? Guruji answers this question. Haumai dirag roga hai. I accept that this is a disease, but the solution is here as well. Haumai dirag roga hai, daru bhi isma hai. The solution is also in the ego itself. The solution is to know the ego, to understand the ego. When you understand the ego, only then can you move past it. If you have no idea what the ego is, there is no way that you're going to move on the spiritual path, because you don't know what the spiritual path is. You think the spiritual path is just reading some books and wearing some religious clothes and doing some religious actions. And that's what the whole world has been deluded by religion. They don't understand that Haumai is the religion. To get rid of me is the religion. So this is a very pertinent question here. Where does ego come from? It comes from the natural progression of what has happened in the past. And at this point, the solution is, how do we get rid of it? You have to know what it is. When you know what it is, and then Guru says, how do you know what it is? Kirpa kare je apni. It's only by grace that you will know what it is. Ta gur ka shabad Kamaaeh. You will know it because you have the grace to have the wisdom of the Guru. When the Guru shows you the wisdom, when the Guru shares his message, his shabad with you, that is the grace by which you will say, oh, I get it now. I didn't know I had an ego. Now I know.